Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stocks to Watch. I'm Ashley Berry. Today, we're taking a closer look at NioCorp Developments, trading on the NASDAQ under the symbol NB. NioCorp is developing the Elk Creek Critical Minerals Project in southeast Nebraska, a proposed U.S. source of critical minerals at a time when strengthening domestic supply chains has really become an increasingly important economic and national security priority. Today's interview is disseminated on behalf of NioCorp Developments. This conversation is especially timely because NioCorp has just released an updated feasibility study for Elk Creek, including a 4.1 billion pre-tax net present value and a production strategy encompassing 8 critical minerals. It also comes just days after NioCorp participated in a major critical minerals roundtable at the U.S. State Department in Washington, D.C., attended by President Donald Trump, as the administration continues to push to expand domestic mineral production and reduce America's reliance on foreign supply chains. So there is a lot to talk about today. Joining me is Mark Smith, Executive Chairman, President, and CEO of NioCorp Developments. Mark, it is always great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Ashley. And what a great introduction. I can hardly wait to add to it.
Well, it's a great company. So, first of all, congratulations on your company's newly released technical report for the Elk Creek project. 12 years of engineering is no small feat. So, if you could just walk us through how this project has really evolved since you last issued a feasibility study.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point. Factually speaking, this is our 10th technical report that we've issued on this project. The one prior, as you just noted, was 2022, and so we got to take a whole bunch of new things into account. Most of those are very positive. A couple of them are not. Let me start with the negative side because let's just get that out on the table first. But the capex number to construct this project has gone from an estimate of $1.2 billion to $1.85 billion. The vast majority of that increase is associated with inflation. And of course, that's not something that is within our control, but we want to make sure we have a very honest number when we publish a technical report like this. On the more positive side, because we've done the necessary drilling prior to 2022 to establish a rare earth resource in addition to a niobium resource and a titanium resource and a scandium resource, we were now able to do some additional infill drilling. And as part of the 2026 feasibility study, we're able to specifically say that we will be producing niobium, scandium, titanium, and the magnetic rare earths, along with 2 heavier rare earth concentrate products as well. So we've gone from what was 3 products from this mine, it was niobium, scandium, and titanium, to 8 products. What that does for us on the revenue side is tremendous. Our revenue goes from about 22 billion over the life of the mine with the 3 products to well over $37 billion with the 8 products that we're now talking about. That's it's a factor of 1.7 in terms of increasing revenue. That hence is why we have an increase in the NPV, but we're able to do a whole bunch of other pretty positive things as well. Number one is that we did extend the mine life based on that infill drilling. So the resource and the reserve have improved significantly. We were able to take the construction schedule from about a 45-month period down to a 35-month period. It's amazing what collapsing your construction schedule does in terms of generating those products, selling those products, and getting revenue started for the company. All helps that NPV calculation. So overall, my take on this feasibility study is that it's quite powerful. It really shows how strong the ore body is, how strong the metallurgy is, and how strong, robust the economics are going to be for this project.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really appreciate the fact that you sort of, let us down where, where you were in 2022 and prior to where you are now. I mentioned in the intro that we're talking on the heels of an incredible meeting you had in Washington, D.C. The current administration, President Trump, has made it clear that the country really needs domestic sources of several different critical minerals. You explained a little bit about what you already have. Sounds like it is the perfect project to address that issue. Talk maybe a little bit about the meeting you had at the State Department and the reaction, and then, what you expect to produce and the implications of those metals. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Yeah, great set of questions there, Ashley. And first of all, let me say what an honor it was to be invited to that meeting that President Trump led. He clearly understands the situation that our country is in when we are so heavily dependent on these, nations that we don't get along with very well for literally 30, 40 of the minerals that we need in this country. We have zero capability of producing some of these, and even if we had a mine, we usually send the ores or the concentrates to China or other unfriendly countries to process them into the form of the product that the end users actually need. So he gets that in a big way. He understands that creates negotiating issues for him when he has to sit down with the leaders of China and try to barter back and forth. We don't have a lot of negotiating power on these minerals. So we are a very good answer, a very good start to answering that question and that problem. The products that we'll be producing, start with niobium. That's our primary product that we're there for. We import 100% of the niobium that we use in the United States today. Scandium, we import 100% of what we need in the United States today. Titanium is actually one of the better elements in our set of products, and we only import 85% of what we need there. So again, very heavily dependent on foreign sources. Of the magnetic rare earths, the neodymium, praseodymium, we import over 95% of what we need for that in this country. Terbium and dysprosium, we both are both 100% dependent on foreign countries. So this is a perfect example of a project that the president wants to support, and we have multiple government agencies that are leaning in. And I like to use that phrase because that's the phrase they use with us when we're talking with them. EXIM Bank of the United States, that's going to be our primary debt provider. That's the phrase they use when they talk about this project. They want to lean in and help this project get funded, get built, and start producing on behalf of the country. We've got to address this onshoring issue and put the country back in control of its own future.
And, just to dovetail on that, talking about, your XM loan, what is it really, what seems to be a very large box that it's ticking right now in this due diligence process? And what are the next big milestones on this?
Yes, I mean, there was really three things that XM has been looking for from us to tick those final boxes. The feasibility study was one, so that box is now ticked. We presented the feasibility study to them just this last Monday. I felt, personally, that we needed to go in face to face and present the feasibility study to XM because they've been working with us for over 3 years. It's an amazingly trustworthy relationship that we have with them, and I felt that we owed them the respect of presenting that feasibility study to them face to face as opposed to just sending a press release to them. They appreciated that. We had additional discussions. We're setting up a follow-up meeting because they'll have a couple of weeks now to review it, and we'll go through what we'll call a workshop because XM will have to take all of that feasibility study information, put it into a banker's version of an economic model, and then they will run their final calculations on what the debt capacity of the project will be and our ability to repay. So this is a huge piece of the items that they needed. Two other items they're waiting for. One is the offtake agreement with Traxys. We're very close on that. There's two or three commercial items that have been bouncing around for a little while. I had phone conversations this last weekend with the leadership at Traxys, so I think we're squared away. Hopefully, we'll see that contract be finalized and become binding in the very near future. And then the last item is, and it's a little more complicated, but EXIM likes to actually see the engineering, procurement, and construction contract for construction of the project. So if they issue the loan, they want to know what that contract looks like for whoever the contractor is that's going to be building out that project. We're working we're going to have two EPC contractors on this project, one for the underground, one for the above ground. We are already passing red line versions of those EPC contracts back and forth. I hope to have that finalized with the EPC contractors by the end of August, and then we will take that to EXIM in early September, and because they need to be able to sign off that all the risks are addressed, all the responsibilities are divided properly for the project, and once they're comfortable, that's the third item. Now we start to look at EXIM board authorization for this loan, and things are moving. You know, we kind of joke about it a little bit, but things are moving at EXIM based on Trump time now. This isn't slow government processes anymore. These people are committed. They're very commercially capable people. So I always like to say, you know, I have two views of this EXIM loan. You know, one is as a taxpayer, I want them to take care of that taxpayer money like no other. But on the other hand, I want them to be commercially reasonable. I want them to lean in and help get this loan across the line. And I think we've got a great balance of those two things happening right now at Trump time.
And it certainly sounds like you have a fantastic strategy as well. So earlier you mentioned Scandium. It's been making headlines as of late. What is it actually used for? And what are your thoughts on really the market dynamics for this kind of metal?
You know, it's been unbelievable to watch the Scandium market start to really get traction. People are starting to understand the powers of Scandium. And one of the things I'll start with on Scandium, you know, we're going to be producing about 100 tons, you know, a little over 100 tons per year from our mine for 40 years. That's less than 5 truckloads of material, and yet it's almost double what the whole world produces today. So the point of all of that is it only takes a little bit of scandium to make a big difference in how in what it's being used for. So there's kind of two primary ways that scandium is used. One is in its pure metal form, and that has different applications in the electronics world as we're going into, you know, further into 5G and soon to go into 6G. Scandium has a role in that transition up to the 6G level. It has certain electromagnetic properties that really make it the most suitable element to allow that improvement in the technology. On the other hand, and I think this is where we'll see the vast majority of the applications, it's when you alloy scandium with aluminum. And when you alloy scandium with aluminum, and again, just a small amount, usually 0.1 or 0.2% scandium, and the remainder of it is aluminum, you can significantly increase the strength of the resulting alloy versus aluminum. You can lightweight the alloy versus the aluminum. It's very corrosion resistant compared to aluminum in multiple applications, particularly in salt water, so hence Navy, the marine world, and whatnot. And then it is weldable, whereas you know, aluminum by itself, there are limited ways to weld it. Nobody really does it because it's so complicated. And the scandium is a grain refiner in that aluminum, and you can actually weld the scandium aluminum parts together, and the weld will be just as strong as the alloy itself. So it's got all kinds of positive attributes that the automobile world is looking for, the defense world is looking for, the aerospace world, the marine world. You know, just think of lightweighting, stronger, so it makes all of us as you know, drivers of cars safer, and the market for this is really starting to take off. We were very fortunate the week before the feasibility study press release. We announced a non-binding MOU with Lockheed Martin, where they are looking to purchase up to 15 tons of scandium from us. That's for fighter jet purposes, where the technology that Lockheed has developed is really outstanding. It will make our fighter jet pilots safer. It'll make them more lethal in the activities that they're involved in. And this is that technological advantage that I think we've really become famous for in the United States, and we need to keep that edge. Well, Scandium is going to allow us to keep that edge.
And that partnership, wow, that is incredible.
It's
I
really
think
good.
it certainly is. And, with all your visits to DC, you might just have to move here to DC. As you know, I'm in this
I've
area.
been thinking about, purchasing a condo because
I mean, right?
hotel rates in DC are outrageous.
But Lockheed Martin, right down the street, in Prince William County. So amazing, and that's just testament to the incredible work that you're doing, Mark, at NioCorp. And I'll just ask you, any final thoughts? What should the investor sort of be thinking about after listening to this conversation and all these incredible developments coming out of NioCorp?
Well, first thing is I want to thank all of the team members in NioCorp because it really, I think there's some politicians that have used this phrase before, but it takes a village to make these things happen. And fortunately, our village is just so strong, culturally in terms of trust and honesty and integrity. We have a great working relationship amongst each other. We vet things very thoroughly, and we make sure that we're always thinking of our shareholders as we advance everything we do in this company. That will not change. But I think it's going to be an exciting time in this company over the next few months as we get the EXIM loan to the finish line, as we finish that Traxys contract. We've already started construction at the mine, believe it or not. We've got a portal project going in where we're digging from the surface down to the first hard rock, which is about 75 to 100 feet deep. So this is going to be a very good way to even shorten that construction period more. We've had a very good year in 2025 in terms of being able to raise equity money towards the project financing because you're always looking for debt and equity. And we were able to bring in over $500 million to the company's treasury, which goes a long way toward meeting that equity portion of the project financing. And I am absolutely dedicated to doing everything in my power to make sure this project is project financed and FID, or final investment decision, before the end of this calendar year. And I know I'm putting my neck on the line when I put a date out like that.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why it can't happen. And we're going to do everything in our power 24 hours a day to see that success come our way. And we always have to because XM's working on Trump time right now.
Love the enthusiasm, and most importantly, for our viewers and listeners, the transparency. Mark, it is an important moment for NioCorp. Obviously, you have the updated feasibility study complete, renewed attention in Washington, as we said. You'll be looking for a condo here soon. You're securing these domestic critical mineral supply chains, which is so important. And the next phase, of course, of the Elk Creek project coming into focus. Mark Smith, Executive Chairman, President, CEO of NioCorp at the helm, trading on the NASDAQ under the symbol NB. Mark, it is always great to speak with you, and thank you so much for joining us here on Stocks to Watch.
Thank you, Ashley. I look forward to seeing you again.